But I don't want this on Facebook because he'll know
Okay.
what I'm talking about.
I'll try to keep it off of it. I'm just kidding.
This is one little part. There's this guy that I grew up with, mom and dad, Christy, know what I'm talking about. And me and him grew up hard and just typical, not typical, really.
Worse than typical.
Worse than typical.
Your partner in crime, that's what I call it.
Yeah. And you know, we separated for a few years and really just reconnected just a couple months ago through Facebook again. And he's living back down here over in Hancock County. We've been talking some, and he's still real rough around the edges, but that's okay. He recently has been saved not too long ago, and his whole family all at one time. It was awesome. He came to church here one time, him and his family, just one time. He told me something last week. I was on the phone with him. He was struggling with something, and I was on midnight or something. I was on the phone with him. He said something to me that is the greatest compliment for a pastor to receive, and for really all the people that come to church here. He said, and for this man to say this, it has to be true. It has to be mine. He said, Jeff, me, when I walked in there, my wife said it, my two kids told me the same thing later. When I walked through your church doors, I felt the presence of God.
Amen.
What more? I mean, that's what it's about. He said, I've been to a lot of churches, because they got saved up in Tennessee. When we moved back down here, he said, I've been to a lot of churches down here, and I walked through it, and nothing. He said, when I walked through your church, he said, I knew God lived there.
That is a compliment. That is what I compliment.
And for that man to say that, so...
And the boys want to keep coming back.
And yeah,
It's a
they get
big
mad
drive
at
for
it. It's
them.
like, son, it's like an hour and a half to get there. But,
Yeah.
you know, I say that to say, that's not me. That's not Christy. That's all of us.
Yes.
All of us makes that happen. All of us host the presence of God. It's not me up on the stage. It's all of us as a team being the hospital for the sick and the lost and bringing them in and ministering to them. That's who we are, right?
Love it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go down to where he says, I am your brother. You guys see that? It says, I'm your brother. I love you as everyone here does, but you must understand that our course is now finished. We can neither add to or take away from what we planted on the earth, but you can. We are not your hope. Guys, get this. Get this. We are not your hope. You are now our hope. Good grief. Even in this conversation, I can only confirm what I have already written, but you still have much writing to do. Worship only God and grow up in all things into Him. Never make any man your goal, but only Him. That sounds like Paul. that sounds like what he would say. Many will soon walk the earth. He will do much greater works than we did. Guys, we're in this day right now. We're stepping into this season right now. I believe that with all my heart. The first shall be last, and the last first. We do not mind this. It is the joy of our hearts because we are one with you. The Lord used my generation to lay and begin building upon the foundation, and we will always have the honor of participating in that. But every floor built upon the foundation should go higher. We will not be the building we are supposed to be unless you go higher.
Wow. And you know what I thought about when I read that statement was, I'm having a hard time getting it straight in my head, but when you said something about Bonky was talking about how all those that had gone before, they might not have seen the results they wanted to see, but for those of them coming up behind, like, Reinhardt and other evangelists and everything, we are seeing the results of their seed planting. And that's what I thought about when I read that, is now we should be able to see the results. I mean, we should be able to harvest, yes, the results of their seed planting. That's what we're supposed to be doing, and
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's good.
Listening to him talk about this, in my mind, I kept thinking about how that sometimes I think I have viewed it wrong, because like Scripture talks about we run a race that's set before us. But I saw my race like, it's my race. I start, I run, and I finish, and I hope I complete it. But reading this and him saying, you are now our hope, I think God more intended our race to be like where Paul hands the baton, and we just pick
It's a
up and
relay.
go on.
It's a relay.
And I think that's why we're not getting any further than the church. We're all, each one go back and we try to start at the beginning and just start our little race and run our race, instead of doing like he said, becoming their hope. They're in heaven, they're witnesses, they're cheering for us. But what if we picked up where they left off instead of having started at the beginning?
build on their foundation.
Yeah. And I began to see that different, that
That's awesome.
we can claim that heritage that's been left. We can pick up the baton from them, and it's a relay race, not an individual race.
Right.
So,
The same person.
yeah.
Now, imagine, if you can, for a moment, if you're in heaven right now, and like we read last week, the Lord stood up on this throne. And he's not going to sit back down until all of this is completed. Imagine being in heaven, being one of the great cloud of witnesses. And then all of a sudden you see Jesus stand up. And you know what that means. You know, you see the angels sharpening they've been sharpening their swords. Now they put this, and I'm using this as an analogy. I'm sure they don't have to sharpen their swords now, but I'm just using it. And lay the wet rocks down, and now they're holding their swords in a battle position. And all of heaven's beginning to sing the last song of this age. And all those cloud of witnesses look. They look at Faith United Methodist Church. They look at Church on the Rock. They look at any church, any Bible-believing church. They look down and go, our hope, it's coming. The Lord stood up. Y'all waiting for it. Guys, you don't understand. They're shouting at us. They're cheering us. Go, 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 go. Time's almost here. You don't have long. If we could really get a revelation and believe that in our heart, man, I think we'd be different. I know All right, the ministering and the message. It says, I pondered this, he watched me closely. Then he continued, there are two things we attained in our time that were lost very quickly by the church. Get this, guys. We often talk about, we need to get back to the New Testament church. We need to, all right, so get this. There are two things we attained in our time that were lost very quickly. They have not yet been recovered, but you must recover them. What are they? It says you must recover the ministry and the message. I looked at the Lord, and he nodded his affirmation, adding, it is right that Paul should say this to you. Until this time, he has been the most faithful with both of these. Notice he said, until this time, which tells me he has been the most faithful, but now there's going to be a generation that's going to be more faithful. Please explain. All right, except for a few places in the world where listen, where there are great persecutions or difficulties, we can hardly recognize either the ministry or the message that is being preached today. Therefore, the church is now but a phantom of what it was even in our time, and we were far from all we were created to be. When we served, being in ministry was the greatest sacrifice that one could make, and this reflected the message of the greatest sacrifice that was made, the cross. The cross is the power of God, and it is the center of all we are called to live by. You now have so little power to transform the minds and hearts of believers because you do not live or preach the cross. This is why I will always preach the cross, and I will never apologize for it. This is why my messages on Sundays, while I may take in different themes, it always comes back to Jesus and Him crucified, because that's the center. And if people get tired of listening to that, go somewhere else. So I'm not changing, because it's the power of God. I mean, Romans 1:16, I think, says, for it is the power of God. The power of God. It says the cross is the power of God, and it is the center of all we are called to live by. Now I would read that. Therefore, we have difficulty seeing much difference between the church and the heathen. Lord help us. That is not the gospel or the salvation that we were entrusted with. We must return to the cross. See, that's why when we've been dealing with now, transformed life, transformed. We have to, the world has to see the transformation. They have to see people that lived like hell, got saved, and are completely different, with full demonstration and power of the Spirit, because the Spirit now lives in them. If they don't see that, then why would they ever want what we say we have? You understand that? Why would they ever say, why would they ever want it? But if they see us walk in what we're supposed to walk in, they will beat down our door to get what we have. Because we forget something in all our strategizing and mailing out flyers and all. They were created to be like Jesus. So when you demonstrate it, when you're like Jesus, it calls out to something inside of them that was put in them before the very foundation of the world was ever laid. And it rings true to them more so than anything else they've ever done or tried in their life. Something happens. And they got to have it because they were created for it.
This was such a sad paragraph to me, because I thought, wow, if that's what Jesus really sees from heaven, then he can't tell the difference between disciples and heathens. That's sad. No, you know he's crying. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt in your life like you were right on the edge of an epiphany, but you couldn't quite yet touch it? But you're like right here.
Yes.
But you can't do that yet. But you know the moment you do that, the whole paradigm is going to shift. It's going to change.
Yeah.
I'm literally right there.
That's what I was about to say. That's where I feel like I am right now. You know, there's just something that my heart longs for, and I know it's here, I know it's there, but I can't figure out how to get there. I just can't get there yet.
I have vented on Christy over and over again on this very subject the past several months. I get mad about it. What if I told you guys that our model of church is all wrong?
It wouldn't surprise me.
When you say model, like
This Sunday morning, here for an hour, hour and a half. We sing our songs, we listen to a guy preach, and then we go home and watch football or veg out on the couch. And then we'll go Wednesday night, and some of us come Wednesday night. And just pick it. And we do that, and then, pastor's having some crazy thing at his house next month. I guess we got to go to that. What if that model's all wrong? They didn't do that in the book of Acts. They broke bread daily. They were a family. Almost like a hippie commune. Yeah, let's all smoke a piece of pipe around the fire and say goodbye. But they had something that we miss, that we don't have in this relationship. I mean, yeah, we have relationship, but I mean, would you feel comfortable coming over to my house and piling up on the couch and taking over my TV? No. Okay.
And neither would you.
No. Well, I would be okay.
His card wants on.
But I think they had that kind of intimacy back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what drove that intimacy? Persecution.
Yeah, that's why he was saying
Either they were
unless,
bored to lose, or
yeah,
Yes.
they had to depend on each other to make it, because that's where he went back and said, except in areas where there's great persecution and difficulties. We
I
should
think
go
we're into
into
that
there.
again too.
And I think that's headed there.
And I think it's
because
going to be
when-
God's grace.
Yeah, and it's God's way of shaking us awake, I think, too, because it's like, these little thing, they arrested Coach for praying, and he didn't make the team, they're going to fire him, and, just because he prayed, and they came and listened to him pray, and then now the people's rising up and saying, fire him. Well, you can't pray at the ball games anymore.
Sounds a lot like crucify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a big step.
But-
It's not a big step.
Yeah, but some way or another, it's, I guess, taking that to make us wake up and rise up and say, we gotta pray while we can.
It took something of equal
Yeah.
severity to make me wake up.
Yeah.
It did.
And I think that's something, it's almost like some kind of spirit that the church has been lulled to sleep. We all feel it. We all feel this need for a great awakening and struggling to try to wake ourselves up spiritually to the time and hour and the battle at hand. But there is an oppressive slumber there. It reminds me of when Jesus was in the garden in agony, praying for the greatest battle ahead, and he asked them to pray 1 hour, and he kept coming back, and they were asleep. I think it is exactly where the church is. He's saying, church, can't you pray 1 hour? And he looks, and we're asleep. And he realizes the greatest battle is ahead, and the church is sound asleep.
Sleep. You're right.
And he keeps
Wow,
coming
that's
back
good.
saying,
Yes.
wake up, wake up.
Wow.
He keeps coming back, 3 times to say, wake up.
I think you ought to take a Sunday service one day. What do you think?
Sounds good to
What do you think?
me. Yeah, she has so much insight. I love it when she talks.
Yeah.
But, that's where I feel like I have been and where I am. I'm trying to, I'm realizing I'm slumbering, I'm sleeping, and I'm in some kind of spiritual funk and fog, and I'm trying to wake myself up, but
Yeah.
And, and I realize the battle is right ahead, is the greatest ahead. And then being my age now, I realize I'm coming to the end of my life. I have little time left to ensure that I can say I finished my course. I don't want to leave things undone. I don't want to do like all these people get there in heaven full of regret and remorse and saying, I would have did it all different if I would have only knew, and that, I missed it all or I failed it all. And that's where I feel like I identify with these people. I'm saying, you know, I'm running out of time and I've missed the mark really bad. So, and trying to figure out, like, you know, I feel like I've been a derailed train trying to get back on track here.
No, I understand. That's good.
And you know, Jeff, what you just said, it took something major to wake you up. But we were just about where you were, or if not where you were. But when all that happened with Jeff and everything, it woke me and Billy up too. You know, it not only worked for him, it worked for us, the whole family.
Well, sometimes it's like, you know, the Lord has to allow something like that to remind us this is a battle, you know, for eternity, and it's serious. It's not a game. And we just get caught up in everyday life.
Too, though, you know.
Yeah. We get caught up in everyday life, and then it takes something to slap us awake sometimes.
Exactly.
I've always felt like that God whispers to me, and He whispers to me, and He whispers to me, and I just keep ignoring Him, and then He throws a brick at me.
Yeah, I've always told him, you know, when I pray, it's like, Lord, you know, you have to smack me upside the head sometimes because I don't get it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
If I told you guys next week, every day, every evening, we're going to meet here, we're going to eat together, we're going to spend 4, 5, 6 hours together, what would y'all say? I can already tell. Oh, wait a minute. I got work. I gotta do this. And see, we're so plugged into all this other stuff that we can't plug in to what we're really supposed to be plugged into. And I'm not saying that as you should live here in this building. It's a hard attitude. Is what I'm trying to get to. If you really believed that Jesus was coming back next week, would you be here?
What time?
Exactly.
Did he say dinner?
Yeah. Well, and it's part of what you were talking about. We have more unbelief than we realize. Because if we really, really thought that the trumpet's fixing to sound, and those we know and love that are not ready, I think we could, brother.
Yeah.
So I think it's going back to, I have a lot more unbelief than I realize.
Well, I think it's also a lack of love.
Yeah.
Because if I loved you as much as I'm supposed to love you, I would want to spend every evening with you to see how your day went and to see what I could do for you. But we ain't there. I mean, I'm not there. I mean, I'll just be honest with you. I love you guys. Call me if you need me, but
You'll be my daughter now, right? But no, I think I was, when Debbie said something about unbelief, this, whatever it is, I just can't get to yet. I think it's because there's still a part of me that's not truly believing. That's why I can't touch what it is that I know is there. It's something spectacular, and when Jeff was praying for us up here on Sunday, and I'm like, God, just let me touch now. Just give me whatever it is that you have for me, because I know there's more. I can feel it, but I just can't get there yet. And I'm like, maybe today's the day. Maybe today's the day. Maybe, I'm getting this certificate. Jeff's praying for me, and we're having this awesome service, and maybe today is the day that I get my miracle and you show me what it is that I'm not there yet. But the only thing that I feel like that's stopping me from getting it is me. And I don't know how to fix it yet.
I understand what you're saying.
Don't you also believe that God is preparing you for it?
Maybe so.
If you
That I'm
were
not
to
ready
receive
yet.
the
That's what I was
epiphany
thinking.
before you were ready, then it would
Would mean as
Go
much
waste.
or whatever, yeah.
well, see, here's the blessing that you may not see. A lot of people, when they pray for something, whether it be healing, finances, or whatever, and they don't receive it in a timely manner, then they start to make a doctrine of why they didn't get it, so they can be comfortable in the fact they didn't get it. Well, it was this, or God's timing, or God's will, or blah, 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 blah. I mean, those excuses are everywhere. But in fact, the pain that you receive from not getting it in a timely manner is meant to change you and to push you harder and faster to try to lay hands on what you prayed for.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
You get it?
Yeah.
But the blessing is you're not trying to make a doctrine of why God's not showed you. Well, it's just not His timing, or I have unbelief, and all of those things may be true.
Yeah.
You know, it may be God's timing, maybe because you got unbelief, blah blah blah. But you're not sitting back saying, well, it's just going to happen when it happens, and if it don't, then it wasn't this or wasn't that. No, you're allowing the uncomfortableness or the pain
Yeah.
to drive you after it even harder and faster. You get it?
Yeah.
So that's a blessing. Even though it hurts.
Again, Bill's way of saying that, and God dealt with me with that, and I'm not where you're talking about being, and I'm not saying that I am, but, and God said, you don't need to make excuses for me. Just accept it. You don't need to make excuses for me.
Yeah.
So I quit making excuses, because that's, I mean, when you start saying, well, it's not God's time, or I'm not, you're making excuses.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. So,
Still searching.
Well, and in the search you're growing. It keeps you growing and growing in your relationship with the Lord because you're seeking Him still for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
You know.
and in that one of the cool things is you learn, you have the opportunity to learn. You don't always learn it, but that's up to us.
Yeah.
But you have the opportunity to learn how to abide in Him. Because if God answered every prayer we ever prayed,
Yeah.
why would we need to abide in Him?
That's right.
Because see, we'll end up seeking the blessing more than the blesser. When if we just seek the blesser, the blessings are a byproduct of the seeking.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
So that's a blessing that you have the fortitude and the wherewithal to say, nope, I still don't have it. I'm still chasing after it.
Yeah.
I'm still asking God for it, and I'm not giving up till I get it. And so that's a blessing. That's something that He's put in you, and that's good. A lot of people don't have that.
So, Gene?
Like seven, yeah.
All right, what time is it? Last Day Church.
That's us.
Oh, let's go up right before that. Let's go right before that. So Paul put his hands on his shoulder, sat back down. So Paul's conversation with Paul's done. So Rick says, I was still living for myself, not for him. Even in my desire to embrace the judgments here. Remember now, he chose to go through the judgment door to experience the judgment of Christ, right? So he says, even in my desire to embrace the judgment here, his motivation is by what would help me make it back in victory without suffering loss. So even choosing to go through that door was being self-centered. The motive was self-centeredness. That was, even choosing the right thing and doing because they told him, Jesus told us the